Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Danae. How in the world are you today?
I am good, as always.
Excellent. So we're ready to rock and roll again here.
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about this time?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Time.
Yep.
We are going to talk about time. It's about time. We talked about time.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, when I was thinking about this subject, I thought, well, as we always do, wonder what songs are out there that use the word time or a reference to time, any kind of time. So I'm telling you, there is a list for everything out there. And so I put that in, and there was this website. It's like top 50 songs that reference time. So how about just throw out a few of them?
Do it.
Okay. Does anybody really know what time it is?
Nice.
Who was that?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, I'll say the song and you give me your genius recollection of rock songs. Okay. If I could save time in a bottle.
That goes back to my time growing up. That's Jim Croce, way back in the day.
Croce,
way back.
2 for 2. Okay. Too much time on my hands.
Now, you and I saw these folks at Red Rocks in Colorado. That's Styx. Great concert.
Awesome. Red Rocks. If you haven't gone and you can.
Great venue.
Go. Okay. This is one of my favorites, and it's also been said it could be the theme song of a 7, but I know you know this one. Don't Stop Me Now.
Now is part of time, and it's not Eckhart Tolle. I know he's not the one that sings it. He talks about the power of now, but I believe it's Queen that sings Don't Stop Me Now. Yeah.
You are a winner.
That's right.
So let's see. Oh, and here's a good one.
Easy.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's an easy one. And of course it would appeal to me, and you're going to explain why later. The song Yesterday would appeal to me by my man Paul McCartney, again, my favorite Beatle.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people's favorite Beatle. Okay, last one. Time keeps on slipping into the future.
That's Steve Miller.
You sing this time.
Slipping into the future. Yep.
Yes, you see
Steve
how
Miller Band.
I have spared our friends my singing today.
And me too.
But the truth is, I get a lot of inspiration from music.
Oh, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I worked out this morning, as you well know, and I had my Bluetooth out there cranked up with the Pandora, and that's where I get inspiration.
See,
absolutely.
That's why you were kind of at an advantage. You listen to these songs every other day.
All the time.
Yes. But I've also kind of, in my attempt to slow down, gotten more observation from the lyrics these days, more than just inspiration, where I'm just, attached to the energy. Although I am. And that Queen song, Don't Stop Me Now.
That's great.
It is very much a future song. It's Don't Stop Me Now.
Right.
I'm going off into the future.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yep.
Great song. Love that song. But I was listening to, I was doing some research on this subject that we're going to talk about today, which is orientation to time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but the Elton John song, I guess that's why they call it the blues.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
But the very first line is, don't wish it away.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at it like it's forever. And I thought, oh, my gosh, that just spoke to me, because that's what I'm prone to do. And as we'll talk about later, my orientation to time is the future. So this is going to make sense as we go along. But I thought this is like an anthem for living in the now. Don't wish it away. Look up the lyrics sometimes. Live without hesitation.
Yes. I love that.
Just be in the moment. Live for each second. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Live for each second without hesitation.
Yep.
But yeah, because I'm always kind of thinking, okay, when something's going on in my life, it's like, when this is over, I'll be okay.
Right. And I've got some questions about all of these orientations as we go along, about what's okay, what we should we be thinking if we're naturally oriented this way, and what are the challenges with our thinking. I know we'll get into that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is a lot to cover. I'm going to just say this right up front. There are some wonderful teachers who have been doing this for years and years, and they can spend an entire workshop just on a part of what we're going to talk about today. So I don't know how long this will run. If we need to put it in 2 parts, we'll do it. But I'm going to give it a go, and we're going to.
This is what I love about doing podcasts with a 7.
Yeah.
If you had been a 1, man, you'd have had this script down to the very last second, and you would know that for a fact this was part 1, and you would know for a fact that there was going to be a part 2 or 3. But you're a 7, and so you're like, okay, let's see what happens
as we go along.
This could be part 1 you're listening to. Check out the show notes because you'll do those later.
I will,
and that's going to tell you if this is a 1 or a 2 or where we're headed. So I like that orientation to time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what time it is. But here's what I thought about, y'all.
Okay.
I don't know if I came up with this or if it was just one of those. No, Danae, you didn't. But here, I'm going to put it in your brain because you can use it now. But I thought when I was listening to the Elton John song, wow, if I'm not here now, I won't be there then.
Beautiful.
Can I have credit for that one?
I am going to give you kudos on that. That's a great thing. If I'm not here now, I won't be there then.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
All right. So let's get into the meat of this.
Yeah. And actually kind of setting this up from my perspective, because again, I know you know this stuff like the back of your hand.
I don't.
You have introduced me to all of these things, and especially this orientation to time. You know, I'm still new to this. You've given me a lot of information over the last week. And I will say right off the top, a lot of times you'll bring these things up, and my initial impression is, well, I'm not sure why that would be a big deal. But, you know, then as you drill down, I realize, oh, my goodness, you know, there's a lot to that. And I see where it makes a big difference, even though it didn't on the surface. I was thinking orientation to time. What's that? But here's the thing I was going to ask you. You explained to me that this subject and other subjects have to do with what's known in the Enneagram as triads. And I know that people that are into the Enneagram know all about triads. But because there are a lot of people like me that are not as familiar with the Enneagram, before you actually get into this orientation to time, could you just give a brief overview of how this Enneagram works in triads, and then explain how the triads are related to orientation to time?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you'll look at this chart.
Ooh.
Oh,
and it's beautiful. You should be here.
No, actually, that is the beauty of being in a class, is being able to see. And I'm a very visual learner. So let me just say, I will add a picture to the show notes so you can reference back to it. But we know about triads for the most part, and there are 3 triads. The numbers 1 through 9 are divided up into 3 triads. And so 8, 9, and 1 are called the gut triad.
That's me.
That's you. 2, 3, and 4 are the heart triad.
Mm-hmm.
And 5, 6, and 7 are in the head triad.
And that's you.
Me, which seems counterintuitive that a 7 would be in the head triad.
Well, unless you go to the great theologians Pink Floyd, who point out the lunatic is in my head.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah.
Yes,
anyway,
I am very much aware of that.
I detracted from your explanation of the triad. Sorry about that.
You owe me an apology.
Yeah,
no,
that's a different subject. No postmodernity today, please.
No, but that was a line from the movie Popeye.
Yes.
With Robin Williams.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to try to
this is why this is going to be a 2-part series, ladies and gentlemen, because this is nowhere in the script that I can find anywhere.
No, but anyway,
so there's triads. So we need to know that we exist in triads.
Okay. So
now,
everybody's number is in one of those triads.
Yep.
But, and this is just what's so amazing, it's like magic. Within each triad, one of those numbers is going to have a stance. So let me just say this. If you're familiar with many of the schools of the Enneagram, some people call this stance and other people call it a social style. They are the same thing.
Okay.
They just go by different names. Okay.
So I got a stance. Some people may say a social style, but they're talking about the same thing with regard to my triad.
That's correct. Your number within your triad.
Okay.
So within each triad, one of those numbers will be what we call the dependent type.
Okay.
Or if you're from the other school, they will call that the cooperators. So 1, 2, and 6.
Okay.
And you'll see there's a number from each triad. 1 and 2 and 6. They're from one of each of the 3 triads.
Okay.
So they're either called the dependent type,
right,
and also called the cooperators.
Okay.
If you are a 7, 8, or 3, which again is one number from each triad, you will be called the aggressive type.
Okay.
Or when you're talking about social types, it's the same thing. They call them the initiators. And again, the last one, 4, 5s, and 9s, they are called the withdrawing type. Or they're also called the soloist.
So the last ones that you've given, like soloist, initiator, cooperator, is that social?
Those are social styles.
Okay. I like the social language much better. I would much rather be called, a cooperator, or I'd rather be called an initiator than an aggressor. And rather than somebody saying I'm a withdrawn, I'd rather them say I'm a soloist.
Right, because sometimes you can say,
sounds better.
Well, you're with the blah, blah, blah. You are from the withdrawing stance.
Yeah. And
so it sounds like maybe you're a loner.
Right.
Or that you just go and retreat.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go through a little explanation of each type. And again, this is why people are a lot of times like, I don't want to be labeled, and why it's important to not just read the one word and assume that you make up this entire persona based upon a word without getting into it and understanding. So can I just take a minute here?
Do it. I think it was real helpful for me.
Okay. Because this is where we're going to get to orientation to time. But
in time.
What did I say? Oh, in time we'll get to.
Yes.
Okay, we are. But the two work hand in hand. So your stance really influences, or your influence, they work hand in hand to your orientation to time. So let's just talk about 1s, 2s, and 6s for just a second. They are the dependent type or the cooperators.
Okay. I like cooperators. Okay. So let's say that. So 1, 2, and 6, if you're out there right now and you're a 1, 2, or a 6, congratulations. You're a cooperator.
Yes.
I like that about people. I like cooperators.
And I'm going to tell you, when you're in a work environment, you can really pull from this information and understand who your team players are.
Yes.
Who are the people who can get this done?
Right.
Okay. But the dependent type, their orientation to time is the present. So just hold that thought,
Okay.
and let me just describe.
They're all about the present.
Yes, what's going on right now in front of them. But they repress the future. So anyway, people in the dependent stance, they get their identity from outside themselves. So what does the team need? What does the team require of me? How am I doing in this work environment?
So they need validation, like feedback. They would like feedback for validation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What others think about what they're doing. They look outside of themselves for guidance and reassurance. So they're very, very important in teamwork. So just hold on to that. Yep. Hold on to that thought. The dependent type, 1, 2, and 6, or the cooperators, their orientation to time is the present, but they repress the future.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
all right.
Got it.
It's just a big overview here. All right, let's go to the initiators, or if you're talking stances, they're going to be called the aggressive type. And again, that sounds like, they're a bunch of mean, forceful people. And they can be very aggressive.
Yes.
But I do like, using the term initiator. And so that
Yeah.
would be the language for social styles. Stance, social styles. Same thing, different words. So the initiators, 7, 8, and 3, they're
Okay.
future oriented, but they repress the past. So, but they are independent. They don't look to others for how to go forward with their ideas. They have a lot of ideas. And so sometimes it looks like they're pushing against people to make their way in the world, but it's not intended to be hostile or combative. They just know where they're going.
Right.
And they just move forward in a direction.
Okay.
That direction. But again, a lot of times they repress the past. So they don't pull from maybe past experiences with this just moving right ahead.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I can see as you develop this that we will also get into the fact that this is just like every other progressive, evolutionary, whatever you want to call it, development of our consciousness, and that is that we have tendencies, perspectives, stances, orientations, etc., and those can be a real strength, but they can also be a real challenge, create some real challenges for us. So there is no, oh, you're an initiator or you're a cooperator, and that's purely a problem or purely a good thing. It can be both.
No, because
An orientation to time can be really good if I use it properly, or, as we'll talk later, it can also cause me some real problems.
right, because 99% of the people in the world are in some sort of relationship.
Yes.
If it's just
You got it.
one person,
Yes.
if it's a family dynamic, if it's a work environment, most people
Yes.
are with other people.
Absolutely.
There are a few
Yep.
that have chosen not to be.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later. Okay,
Yeah.
let me get back to this. Okay. Back to stances or social styles. Same thing, different names. So if you are a 4, 5, or 9, this is what you talked about. We call it stance language would call it the withdrawing types.
Yes.
And social styles call it the soloists.
Okay.
And you prefer that.
I like that one.
And I do too.
Because when you say somebody's withdrawn, it's like, ooh, what's wrong? What's wrong? You're so withdrawn.
Oh,
I don't know. I just have a negative connotation about that word. But if you say
what's
the
the word?
soloist, it's like, yeah.
What was that guy? Aviator. They called him the hermit. He was like the poster child for a hermit. Oh,
You're trying something on a podcast where you're trying to recollect something, and I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
oh my gosh.
You just violated one of the cardinal rules
I
of,
did.
of
We're going to think about
podcasting.
this. It's going to come to you. They made the movie The
Ted
Aviator.
Krasinski.
No.
He was withdrawn. He went into a shack and became the Unabomber.
That's no.
That's probably not the guy you're thinking of.
The guy that was the airline guy. I mean, the aviator.
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. Ding, ding.
Okay, thank you.
We have a winner.
Yes.
I'm so sorry we went off
Okay.
there. But that's what I'm saying. If you talk about somebody who's withdrawn,
Yeah.
you might think, oh, they're
Yeah.
just a hermit. And that's not at all what this means. So let me describe them.
Yeah, because this is my number, and I think this is the most important thing to understand because it's my number.
Yes,
So,
it's-
what does it mean to be withdrawn or the soloist? What's going on with me?
Okay. Let me explain who you
Okay.
are.
Okay.
Okay. And to begin with, their orientation to time is the past. And so they repress the present. But, okay. So, whereas the cooperators, they get their sense of who they are from other people. The people in the soloist stance gain their identity from within themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
They meet their own needs internally. And so they don't look as much outside to other people to give them not only just their sense of self, but their ideas. They're very into their own thoughts and opinions and
Self-validating.
they really are. Yes.
Okay.
But it can make other people feel like, oh, well, he's shutting me out when it's
Sure. Who would those other
absolutely-
people be, Danae?
I don't know.
And as a 9, that's the last thing you would ever want someone to think, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are the most, well, that's a whole different thing about being a 9.
Yeah, right.
You love your relationships. You do.
Yes, of course we do.
You're not the initiators.
No.
Okay. All right. So
And so my orientation is the past.
Yes.
Okay.
And you repress the present. That's why a lot of times people in this stance, they have trouble completing tasks.
Oh.
They have a lot going on in their head. They're thinking, creating great ideas. This is you to a T.
Yes.
And me too, because I don't like to deal with the mundane of the things that are in the present. So we go somewhere else.
Well, and
with our orientation to time.
Constantly have a to-do list, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just every now and then you should probably check one of them off.
And maybe in order.
Right.
I was at the grocery store the other day with my granddaughter, with Reagan.
Yeah.
And we walked in and she goes, Nene, where's your list?
Oh, because who might have such a list when Reagan goes to the store?
Her mama.
And what is her number?
She is, well, I think she's a 1.
I think she is too. And that means that she actually has her act together.
She has a list.
She has a list.
No, she does. She just got her degree.
Yes.
She's going to be a teacher next year. And what a great career for somebody who is so present oriented. Oh my gosh. This is perfect.
And organized.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the kind of classroom you'd like to have your child in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to try to keep on track here.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about what would happen if the aggressive type or the initiators, what would happen if they slowed down and reflected on their past? Because see, that's where we avoid. We avoid the past. We are constantly in the future. But when we understand why orientation to time is so important, you can look, and I'm just going to say you can learn from your past experiences.
Okay.
They were not all mistakes, but sometimes we honestly tend to forget the great successes we've had in the past. And I can tell you for sure, when I get way off into the future and then I can't remember that I did anything that I followed through with or that was successful.
Right.
You, my mom, some of my kids will be like, whoa. No, you did this in the past and it was great.
Yeah.
And I honestly have to go, I did. I completed that. That was a great, But I tend to just move on past that. So that would be if I slowed down and reflected on my past, because I am future oriented, I could learn from my experiences. So when the cooperators or the dependent types, if they who are very present focused.
Okay, that's their orientation.
That's
present.
their orientation
now.
to time.
Okay.
Yes. They can allow themselves to get excited about the future. And
right.
That's a fearful place. Again, especially if you're a 6, not to say that they live in fear, but they're always looking to what might happen. So if they get present or get beyond just what might happen and look to the future, then they can get excited and not be fearful of, what's happening right at this very moment or what might happen.
Yes.
Okay. Last one. And then we're going to move on to the why of this.
Yeah.
So
some applications.
Yes. All right. So the soloists or the withdrawing types, if they embody the here and now, then they become more aware of what is rather than what was or what might happen in the future. And they can look at those lists or they can see what's going on right around them and really accomplish in the now. And yes. So again, a lot of this has to do with numbers and your own personality type, but that's a whole different show, doing repressed.
So something popped in my head here. I just want to ask you this, again, because I'm coming at it as anybody out there listening who's new to the Enneagram, you're coming where I am. Let me use the example of riding a bicycle.
Okay.
you ride a bicycle, you fall down, scrape your knee up. If your orientation to time is in the past and you dwell on the past, then those types of people may be frustrating because it's difficult to get them to get back on the bike and ride because they're thinking about this hurt in the past.
Right.
If you have an orientation to the future, you would probably be more likely to get on the bike because you're thinking about a different outcome. I'm going to be able to ride my bike, and that's what I want to do in the future, and I see myself doing that and having the freedom of riding my bicycle. Is that kind of where you're going with the orientation stuff?
That's right.
Okay.
So let's go on with that.
All right.
I'll just continue with that example because if you don't take the time, let's say you're like, nope, I'm getting back on the horse, so I'm getting on the bike, and I'm just going to take off and ride.
Yeah.
And you don't remember what happened to cause the accident. Did you fall off and you didn't wear your helmet and you hurt your head?
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking about. So you can either live in fear of what happened in the past, or you can disregard the consequences and just keep moving forward.
And most likely you'll keep finding yourself having the same experience of pain is because if you're just a constant looking into the future and constantly ignoring the past, so to speak, because that's not your stance,
right? And
you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the why of why you have had pain in your life. You're not spending time to think about the things that led up to each and every time the pain that you experienced.
That's exactly it.
Yay!
Good
Thank
job.
You. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, we have just truly laid the foundation for what we're going to move into with this orientation to time and the why of it. I mean, the big question that we always ask in any of these things that we study.
Why does it matter?
Right. What does it have to do with our
relationships. That's
Absolutely.
Always the big word. It's about relationship. It's why you and I are doing this. These are the kind of talks we have over coffee, and it does matter. And we know that. It's mattered for us now for 21 plus years.
Yeah, and as our family matures and our relationships around us grow, it's the ability to observe, not to say, oh my gosh, my orientation to time is the future, or oh my goodness, your orientation to time is the past. How can I just stop this and be different than I am? Absolutely not. I love that I have the ability to look forward. I love that you have the ability to stop and say, well, now let's look at some things that happened in our past and how can we not repeat those. I love that we work in synchronicity.
Yes,
that was a song
we are
too.
Fortunate as 9 and 7 to have some things of different strengths that are in these different stances and perspectives. That makes for some great synchronicity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was that? The Police.
The Police, very good.
Yay! That really was
we're on the music,
and
today.
That's not really my thing, is to remember that. But anyway, again, we said relationship. We always bring it back to that, because even if it's just you and one other person and you're living in a cabin out in the woods, this matters. And it's not hard. It's just being aware. But you know what that show you love to watch? Mountain Men?
Oh, yeah, mountain men. Even mountain men, even though they live out there in the wilderness, they still have to have stances to time when it comes to the weather, when it comes to nature, the animals, growing crops, food for themselves, when to plant, all that. Everything we do in life has to do with our orientation to time.
Right. Is there one guy who lives by himself? One of those mountain men? Seems like there was one guy that just lived on his own, away from everything. So even though he doesn't have like an actual person he's in relationship with, you better be in relationship and know
Hey,
time.
Even if you have a dog, you better know how to relate to when that dog needs to be fed.
let's do a good example. Or when winter is coming.
Ooh. who
we missed Game of Thrones.
Yep.
But anyway, okay, we have covered half. I knew this would happen because I didn't plan to map this all out time-wise. We've set the stage. We've literally gone through half of what I want to get to. So I'm going to call this part 1, and we're going to end this one right here and come back and finish talking about why this matters, what we can do about it in our relationships. We're specifically going to talk about marriages and children. So come back next week and we will finish Orientation to Time. In the meantime, I hope you get to experience the joy of who you are right now by loving your own number. See you soon.